Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this Precious Metals Weekend Review with Mr. Andy SCHECTMAN. You can find his work at milesfranklin.com. Andy, welcome back to the show.
JC, it's always a pleasure to see you.
How's it going, Andy?
It's going well, my man. It's going well. I'm hanging in there. It's always good to see you, and certainly these are crazy times.
Let's talk about that. And of course, I'm laughing when I'm asking you how you're doing because I know you're extremely busy and your phone is off the hook and your email is just blowing up every day and you're not sleeping. So explain to the audience what the hell's happening.
You know, look, I get that question all the time. What is happening? I guess it's hard to justify sometimes when you see the price of gold and silver acting so counterintuitively. But you know what, JC, there's no legitimate reason for the price of gold and silver to have gotten crushed as it has. There's been literally no supply or demand factor whatsoever to account for the drop in prices. In fact, there's been no, to my knowledge, no investor dumping in gold or silver. We have no one selling us anything in physical side of things. And you know, when you talk about silver, of course, from an industrial standpoint, it's not like they found something that conducts electricity or light or heat the way that silver does, and they found a substitute all of a sudden for solar panels and digital technology and all of the green applications. So I guess what I'm getting at is that the price of gold and silver in many ways is orchestrated on the COMEX market. You have traders that have been manipulating the price of gold and silver, and as I have been arguing for quite some time, doing so, JC, in an effort to really corner the physical supply. Let me give you an example. The CME daily delivery report, which just came out for the first delivery day notice here in October, showed 11,468 gold contracts stood for delivery. Now multiply that times 100 ounces, 11,468 times 100. I mean, you're talking, you know, an awful lot of gold, $1 billion+ worth day one standing for delivery. You have the biggest money in the world that has been orchestrating the price lower. And they are able to literally, what differentiates the big money that's pushing the price down, is that they cover their short positions on the downward, not on the upward. Now think about that for a minute. Normally shorts will cover as the price is moving up because they get margin calls. And if you're selling short and the price moves against you, you cover, which adds fuel to the fire. But the big commercial banks, they're the opposite of that. They know where all the pain points are for the managed money traders. So they drive the price down. They have shorts all the way down that they've been, you know, shorting all the way down, but then they know where the pain points are. They short the market just enough to get it over the hump. Then all of the algorithms that run the funds are triggered. The sell stops are triggered, and it drives it way down. They call it greasing the skids. And they drive it all the way down, and they cover, when it goes way down there, they cover their shorts even beyond where they were originally placed, and they make a profit on it. In other words, they're very nefarious. But something interesting has happened, and that is that it appears as that the commercial banks, 4 of them, have been the main drivers of the short price in silver and gold. And it appears as though they've hoodwinked a managed money trader, a very big one. We don't know their identity, but a very big one, onto the short side. Kind of like the dark side for Star Wars fans, I guess you could say. And the difference is that these bullion banks can come up with the metal pretty easily, but a managed money trader can't. And if one of these days, maybe this is what the commercial banks who are stuck and trapped in these short positions, and have been for a while, where if they buy it back, the price explodes. They can't allow that to happen. It'll kill them. So they have to manage it and keep shorting it. What if they just tried to sucker someone in to allow them to quietly exit their short positions? In fact, If you look since May, those 4 same commercial banks have covered a tremendous number of contracts, tremendous. I don't know, like 1.5 million, some huge amount of contracts. Half of the short position that they had has been covered since May by these commercial banks. So they're selling their shorts to this big managed money trader, and they're driving the price lower. The commercials are covering their positions. They're getting out of their short positions. And one of these days, they're going to let it run, and they will make more money on the upside as they did on the down. And this massive short position by a managed money trader will experience, well, I guess what you call a spiritual experience, where no one will sell back to them and the price will only go higher, and they don't have the metal to deliver. So the only way to get it is to go in to buy it. Mm-hmm. I guess what I'm trying to get at by all of this is that the drop in gold and silver was engineered completely and wholly on COMEX. It's more of the same, but the positioning is getting different. When you see these kinds of deliveries, 11,468 contracts that stand for delivery day one, it tells me that the game is getting very, very, very close to maybe a new chapter, chapter where the commercial banks will manipulate the market to the upside because they have acquired, in this case, day one, 11 million ounces of silver. At some point the game changes, and I think we're getting close to that. You would not see this kind of wicked removal of metal off the exchange if it weren't by design. And so price is a tool of misdirection in this respect, and it is being used, in my opinion, and has been for a while, for the biggest money in the world to corner the physical supply.
In my interview with Cliff High and David Morgan a couple of weeks ago, we discussed why now is different. And so we added to what you're just saying now, things are different and they're looking different. And in the meantime, these price flash crashes, I guess, are an opportunity to buy. As Cliff High says, their criminality is basically subsidizing your ability to purchase more silver here. And that's what we're seeing. What was funny about all of this earlier today, too, I was reading this article here on Zero Hedge. Former Goldman compliance officer, of course, busted for insider trading. I'm like, no shit. Imagine that, Andy. Come on. This is
two Fed governors did the same thing. You got guys on the Federal Reserve. 2
are gone already. Yeah,
that's right. So, I mean, look, you have a lot of corruption at the top, from the neck down, from the head down. It's rotted. And it's very obvious. Look, people need to understand the reality of something, that there are no free markets anymore, JC, just manipulations. Mm-hmm. And, these people know, they know the playbook. And this is another reason why I keep talking about what the biggest money in the world is doing, regardless of what they're saying. Go all the way back to gold and its reclassification as a tier 1 reserve. The central banks gobbling it up, the commercial banks buying it, the sovereign wealth funds buying it. They're using the manipulated price to write their own new chapter. And we're going to wake up and the page will have been turned, and it's going to be, chapter 2. Gold and silver go to the moon and no one else can get it. And they have been using these manipulated markets by shorting ridiculous amounts of metal at ridiculous times of the night when nobody would do it, in broad daylight, to affect a reality. And that reality, JC, us, you and I, and the people in the audience, we're jaded in the respect that we understand this. What I'm about to say. Like, it's obvious to us that this is true, but the mainstream, or the people who follow it, like, I have a lot of very well-read friends, they just read the wrong stuff. And all they notice is when the price of gold and silver is lower. And I think they take a particular glee in it, just because we go back a long way. I see silver's way down today. The point of it is that they're looking at the price, which is an ultimate tool of misdirection. And it is misdirecting the public into the herd mentality, into the pen, that pen being the equity market, the bond market, the multiples, and all of these traditional forms of wealth, when the biggest money in the world is who's got the kind of money to take delivery of 11,468,000 ounces of gold. You're talking the biggest money in the world taking huge positions in metal, and irrespective of the price, in fact, using that price to run cover for their repositioning. And people need to take a step back and understand this. If I didn't see what I've been seeing with the biggest money in the world over the last 18 months doing this overtly, but not overtly to the public, because you got to really look and spend a lot of time to see it and study the Commitment to Traders report and all of these horribly boring documents we have to dig to try to extrapolate the information, then if I didn't see this with my own eyes, I would be less inclined to be bullish on these pullbacks. Quite to the contrary, I think it is incredibly bullish, and I think they are running out of ammunition, and they want to try to eviscerate them or eradicate themselves rather from the short positions. And maybe this big managed money trader is just one of the suckers who will fall on the sword for these commercial banks who are trying to quietly exit stage left, like JP Morgan did. They're out, and they're actually long in physical and in futures. It's 4 other commercial banks that are stuck. So anyways, long answer to the question, but I guess the bottom line is that to me, this type of market behavior, if at all possible, is actually bullish, because it reeks of desperation, and the biggest money in the world is jumping in on these drawdowns with both hands open, saying, let me just take all I can. And yet no one notices it. And
I'm wondering also how it ties in with all of these ethics issues and people resigning here. That's just one of them. Fed Boston President Rosen Green, I believe.
Yeah, well, he was one of the ones, I think, that was tied up with buying securities. I'm pretty sure he was one of them. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Andy. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, the public doesn't notice it. They made a big deal about Palantir buying 50 million ounces, but this one managed money trader who owns 40,000 December contracts or 4 million ounces of gold for December, they don't talk about that being 130 times larger than the Palantir purchase.
Right.
So anyways, I guess all I'm trying to say is that the biggest money in the world, there's some real big money behind the scenes that people aren't noticing.
Well, let's talk about big money. Last week you were traveling, and I'm not sure to what extent you can maybe explain to the audience who you were seeing and what you were doing, but there's a big interest now from some of this big money trying to understand and get positioned into the silver market. So what can you share with the audience here of your last travels and who you've been meeting with, and how, again, there's pressure here to get into
this. That's okay. I spoke at a family office engagement. This is a group that controlled interest, 5 or 6 very, very wealthy families. And they basically have everything that these families would need, from trust services, investments. Or there's a crypto guy there. There was, that did trust. There was a international attorney there, accountant there. And they, all of these professionals that they have service their incredibly wealthy clients. They have an insurance guy there who helps them tailor insurance-based plans through trusts, and it's basically succession of the biggest money in the world, how to pass it on to your family. And they asked me to come speak. I think I freaked a lot of people out, actually, in a good way. I mean, I found it exhilarating to be there. The conversation was great. And these are very successful people who get it. People are getting it. I've talked a lot with you about this charge in the air. On one hand, you got people at that end of the spectrum who see their wealth going up tremendously. And I think they wonder if it's real, that their wealth has gone up so incredibly through all of this chaos that we've all lived through. And then on the other end, you look at the staff at the hotel that we stayed at, working through COVID, trying just to make ends meet as inflation drives up the prices of so many things around us. The world is so separated right now. The realities of people are so separated. The very wealthy have gotten wealthier and are now, at least in my universe, starting to question how long this can go on for. And, you know, being asked by a very prestigious family office company to come in and speak is something that never would have happened in years past in the precious metals industry. These people are beginning, and you know, when they asked me there, they told me, and they made an announcement when they introduced me that this was by popular demand, not me, but someone to talk about precious metals. These very wealthy people are scared and looking for something. And then when you think about all of the people who aren't as fortunate, the blue collar people, the lower middle income, they're just struggling to make ends meet in a world where prices are going way, way higher on everything. And you got the Fed, who's been speaking this narrative of this nonsense of transitory inflation, yet it just came out just the other day, and they said that we need to realize that this is probably structural, and that it's not going to be transitory, and that you got the head of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago came out and said that this transitory inflation is not enough, that it needs to overshoot 2% average. I mean, so they're already coming out and going back on their word. As we've talked about, they have to continue to do this. They can never stop or the whole thing implodes. So you see inflation, you see supply chain disruptions, which is, in my opinion, stagflation, which makes it very difficult for the average person on the street to make ends meet, because the fewer products that are out there go up in price. There's more money chasing fewer products. They're working their ass off to make ends meet, and they're freaked out. Yet on the other end of the spectrum, the very wealthy have made way more money, and they're thinking something's got to break. And so we're seeing a really strange time, JC, where there's a massive dichotomy between people who got money and people who have nothing. And the problems that they face are so different. I don't know. I think this is just a crazy time.
Yeah. And of course, our politicians are playing chicken with the debt ceiling here, and we're going to see where that all leads. And again, it's always the same debacle every year, and it's stressing out, of course, all the markets here and putting pressure. It's interesting because Huntington Built is saying, hey, JC, do you ever sleep? Oh, Andy and I will sleep when we're dead. Right now, we're too busy.
You and I text each other 12, 1 o'clock in the morning all the time.
I know.
Whenever I get a text, I'm like, it's JC. Yeah, you know what? Sleep has been hard to come by for the last year and a half for me.
Yeah.
But when you do anything for 31 years and you see a market like this, it's really hard to sleep. Yeah. It's hard to not get back to people. There are a lot of people out there who probably are watching the show will echo that I email them at 12, 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's a blessing. But this is, again, emblematic of I think people getting scared. And I would like to make, I know you didn't ask me this question, but I got a letter from one of my large distributors, and he said to me that, be mindful when you're locking in orders because things are moving so quickly. And basically the gist of what he said was that when we sell out of this is one of my distributors, that when they sell out of product, that it's 2 to 4 weeks across the board from all the major mints, and expect increases in premium. So this is, again, I think what we're seeing is an awakening. People are waking up, and I think people have never been more concerned. It doesn't matter what end of the spectrum you're on. I think it's permeating through at least in terms of the demand that we're seeing in this industry, irrespective of what the price is doing. In fact, the days the price goes down, our phone rings off the hook. More people are cognizant of this being BS and are using it as a subsidy, as they should. That's what the biggest money in the world is doing. That's how you beat them. They push the price down and think it has the opposite reaction. It does to the people who are watching from afar, but the people who want to buy any, they're smart enough now to know it's a fire sale, if you will.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like Worf in Star Trek. Today is a good day to die. Well, it's always a good day to buy silver also. So anyways, so Mike, Serbian Mike is asking, JC, where are the Beyond Mystic coins and bars? So on that note, I did contact Heidi. Heidi is the designer behind the Silver Shield collection. And so I've asked her to see if she would be interested in commissioning a coin and a bar for the Beyond Mystic audience here. So I've just sent her that email. Hopefully I'll get back, she'll get back to me soon and we can get that in the works. And of course, Andy, what's the timeline on your machinery? Because somebody's in the chat saying, JC, by the time you get your bars, silver's going to be through the roof. I'm like, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, our bar machine should be ready by the end of October.
Okay.
Like soon, within the next month. The coin machine by the end of the year. Okay. But these are the same machines, as an example, that the Pam Swiss Mint uses. They're manufactured, built to scale across the pond in Europe, and then are sent piece by piece. And then someone has to come and put it together for us and train us how to use it. So, but I would say within 30 days, we'll be pressing 10-ounce and kilo bars.
Okay, very good. And just, guys, this is just a mock-up. I sent this to Heidi just so she knows what I'm talking about. It's ugly, but you get the idea here. But I wanted a bar, of course, a 10-ounce bar that'll look something like this. I wanted to have a nice relief in French. How do you say that? High relief, like with a high design. And of course, the coin on one side would look something like this. So anyways, hopefully she can bring her imagination and her talent to bear and create something absolutely wonderful for you guys. So I'll keep you posted as she replies to me. And as we get closer to the end game here on this process. So thank you, guys. Somebody on the chat, a couple of people asking also, like said Laura, they keep asking me, JC, don't forget to ask Andy about the tarot cards. So in a show last night, or maybe the night before, I forget, somebody pointed us to the fact that the New Zealand Mint had created these amazing tarot card silver bars. And a lot of these are sold out. I was wondering, is there any way that you can squeeze some arms and we can see if we can get some inventory there? Because a lot of people in our chat were interested in these bars, Andy.
I will certainly try. I know my daughter would be really interested in those as well.
There's it's a really cool collection.
So do they make 52 different designs, or I don't know how many tarot cards are there? There's not 52. How many tarot cards are there?
I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. I clicked on something earlier. See, like they have the Fool, and this one's sold out. So I don't know. I'm trying to get to the whole collection here. At any rate, you and I can do this off screen. But yes, okay. So thank you, Lakeside Laura, and everybody else.
I'll try. I'll see what I can do. I normally don't work with the New Zealand Mint, although I have gotten some of their turtles. So let me see what I can do. Okay,
sounds very good. Sounds good. And what else did I wanted to ask you today? How are things going with the booking forms? I know that we had a few issues where some emails were going in the spam folders, either on your side or on the client side. That seems to have been resolved. I haven't seen that many in the last couple of days. Everything seems to be working smooth, and there's a lot of volume, trust you me, between all of the promo forms that we have now. How are you guys handling the shipping and all the orders now, Andy? What's your timeline?
We're working really, 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 really hard. It's like running a logistics business these days, between dealing with the suppliers, the mints. The transit is difficult. It's much more expensive, and it's taking longer, and it's less predictable. We've had coins that were supposed to be in our vault last week that are going to be in today or tomorrow, some on Monday. You're dealing with, from the top on down, it's difficult to keep pace. And this is again one of the things that makes me think that when it really heats up, it's going to become a big problem for this entire industry. We're working nonstop trying to contact all of the people that are being sent to us, and we're very grateful for it. And we're shipping record amounts out every single day. Literally, I have 3 shifts of 6-hour shippers that are working 18 hours a day to package boxes up and get them out the door. So far so good, JC. And this is, supposedly the calm before the storm. So far so good. But I think that this new tax deal has got a lot of people freaked out, and so our phones are ringing off the hook. And a lot of people, most of the people, talk about the invasion of privacy, that the infringement of the Fourth Amendment, where Janet Yellen thinks it's imperative that the IRS receive inflows and outflows of greater than $600 from every single way of transmitting money, from PayPal, Venmo to brokerage and crypto accounts and banks. And we've had such a massive inflow of people that have never bought metal before, on top of the people that you're sending us and others, that we're about ready to hire another couple of office staff and a couple of brokers. It's a blessing, but I would just ask the people have a little patience with us. It will never be more than one day. And if there is more than one day, please send an email to info@Miles-Franklin and say, I replied, no one's gotten back to me. info@Miles-Franklin, and we will immediately jump on that if you haven't heard from anyone in a day. And I would hope it would be much quicker than that.
Okay, very good. And just before we started the show today, you mentioned to me that perhaps you had something cool for the audience today as a giveaway. Do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, well, we're going to do the same 1-ounce dragon bars that are as rare as hen's teeth. You can't find them. I mean, these are from my own personal holdings. I bought them when they came out. I liked them. Actually, I sold also, I had a big order that I sold to a friend of mine, his neighbor, and he committed to it. And then he called me back and said he didn't like a dragon being on the bar. So I said, I'll buy him and I'll trade you something for it. I traded him some other coins for it. So I ended up, luckily, having quite a few of them.
Awesome.
And so I'll be able to pull them out of my own stash and send them out to your people. But it's got to be in the U.S. I'm very sorry for your Canadian listeners. I'm very sorry for your listeners outside the U.S. It just becomes too expensive for me to ship 1 ounce of silver. Is like $60 to ship it.
Yeah.
With insurance and customs paperwork and all that kind of stuff outside, it just becomes, you could buy 4 ounces of silver for just the cost of shipping. So
right, it's pretty crazy.
A little too cost ineffective.
Well, folks, as always, thank you so much for supporting our show. I'm going to bring the PayPal tip jar link back in the chat here, of course, and we'll be picking somebody from the PayPal tip jar here today for this amazing silver bar for you guys. So again, a big thank you for supporting the show. And there's somebody here just asking a second ago, hey, you guys should do a Cliff High and JC coin. I'm like, yeah, maybe we could do a silver woo series of a stamp. Cliff High on the coin. That would be pretty awesome. That's absolutely cool. Good idea. I forget who asked that. Somebody Humble Pie or something. Anyways, that was a good idea. Andy, let's do some technical stuff a little bit. Go ahead, Andy.
I would buy the woo coin. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that would be cool. All right. Well, Cliff, if you're still in the chat, let me know. That could be one of our strikes here. We could do another coin specifically for that. That would be really
Cliff
cool.
With a cup of coffee.
We could have you do the live long and prosper. Put you in uniform. I don't know, something cool. We can think about that. All right, Andy, let's do some technical stuff here. I've got 2 charts here, either gold or silver, from our friends here in the silver. I want to call them the Silver Cartel group, sending you emails and being so generous to copy me on all of the things silver and gold right now. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the gold chart or the silver chart?
It doesn't matter. You can start with the gold chart.
Let's bring that up. All righty. So explain to the audience here what we're looking at and why this particular formation is important.
Well, it's a cup and handle, and the price is sitting right on that line. That it's kind of from a technical standpoint, you want it to move up from that line and not violate it down to the downside. Traditionally, a cup and handle formation is very bullish. It typically precedes a spike upward, and violation of it downward would be a bad thing. And so we're hoping that we see the price rise. And look here again. Based upon the massive amount of deliveries coming off of COMEX by the most influential, well-informed people in the world, based upon the fact that gold was reclassified tier 1, to me, when I look at technical analysis, I do know that most of the financial universe looks at it and abides by it in terms of daily, weekly, what have you. And it does have a good deal of accuracy. But in a manipulated market, it also loses some of its potency. And so what I believe is this, that is a bullish formation. You don't want to see it drop down, but it could. Why? Because the people that engineer the price realize that most of the traders and most of the hedge funds and most of the algorithms look at this too. It's called painting the tape. You push it down through, you get all the algorithms to sell, you get everyone out. Remember, they're covering their short positions. Remember, these same people are sitting there like this, buying these massive drop downs, and they are accumulating physical and pulling it off the exchange. That's what's different. Okay, that's really what is different about all of this, is that when they engineer these price drops, just like the price of gold got pushed down when it was sitting on the 200-day moving average on August 9th, it was right at the line. And they knew that if they pushed it down with momentum, all the funds would sell. Well, the same thing here. If they wanted to and pushed the price down enough with levered futures contracts at about $8,000 a pop, control 100 ounces, they could drive it down. And again, when they pay that 8,000, it just has to be put in their margin account. And they drive the price down through that formation, it would trigger a sell order, I'm sure, for many long positions, which would enable them to do their dirty work all over again. But, you know, at some point, I think it stops. At some point, they're going to have to let it run, and they'll make as much on the upside as they did on the down. And when you see the amount of metal standing for delivery and taking it off the exchange, where it's decades worth of deliveries in a year, I mean, it's really different. I think we're getting closer to that moment where it goes this way, where they've hoodwinked enough of the managed money traders into going short, and bang, it goes straight up, because it's just too risky of a game to try to manipulate something that you can't deliver on by making shorting. If you short it and you have the ability to deliver it, that's one thing. But, you know, who's got that kind of volume in gold just sitting around to dump, you know, 2 or 4 million ounces on the market and then come up with it when someone stands for delivery, like we saw on August 9th. Whoever this entity is, they're long 40,000 contracts into December. I guess we'll have to see, but if they stand for delivery. But this is game-changing type of information. But that formation is very bullish.
Right. Let me bring up the silver chart here. And just before I have you talk about silver, Cliff High was opining last week, I believe it was in one of his interviews, that perhaps this Evergrande bond debacle in China would force the CCP to revalue gold and silver as a way to get out from underneath this liquidity issue, to bring up or to shore up their system. And what he was saying is that perhaps this time now also wide front is that the United States would probably not balk to such a move, seeing as we are also in having some issues with our debt ceiling and perhaps all of this unfunded liability. At some point, the rubber does meet the road, and something needs to break here, as you say. So,
do you think an environment like that, JC, is any reason why? Is there any coincidence that gold was reclassified Tier 1? Is there any coincidence in the redistribution of gold to all the central banks, pulling it back from the Bank of England and the New York Fed? Is there any coincidence that since 2017 they've gone on a massive, copious buying spree, the central banks and the sovereign wealth funds? They know
it's definitely not because they believe this cup handle is going to break to the downside. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the point. They're using the technical formation, the breakdowns of them, which trigger selling by the algorithms, to do exactly what it's misdirection. If they were just to say, hey, the shit's going to hit the fan, let's buy, the price would go to the moon, they'd be traded out and they'd be stuck like everyone else. But if they say, don't look here, it's a crap, it's going through technical formations, it's blah, blah, blah. You know what? And then everyone goes over there to the crypto market and to the equity market, and they look at the huge profit they made, and they're so obsessed with the valuations of their portfolios at all-time highs, most of which are unjustified, that they do not notice the biggest money in the world literally filling their pockets with every bit of gold and silver they can and running out the exchange door. Yeah. That's what's different. They're being misdirected. And it's very obvious for me to see. It doesn't make it any easier to deal with the ups and downs of the market. It's still frustrating as hell. But to me, it's very obvious what's happening. We will wake up to a new reality. Honest to God, we will wake up to a new reality. at some point. You do not buy gold and silver to get wealthy. You buy gold and silver exactly the same reason all the big money is buying it, because whatever comes next is going to use gold as I believe, as some sort of a peg to some form of sanity. Because if you allow politicians to continue to favor the printing press over austerity, it'll be the same thing that's been going on for forever, where the politicians will just debase the currency to meet their agenda, and they will not make the tough decisions that need to be made. And so that's when you look at it that way, and then realize the redistribution of gold and silver across the globe to the big money, and the removal of counterparty risk off of exchanges and out of the Bank of England and the Fed, it makes it a lot easier to understand. And when you see formations like that, either it does finally go, meaning they've got all that they can get reasonably without creating too big of a problem, or they violate it and get all the sell and shake more people from the tree and buy more at subsidized prices until one day we wake up to a new reality.
Right.
And either you believe that story or you don't. But I will tell you this, the biggest money in the world would never have done the things that they've done, in particular with gold, and in particular with standing for delivery and posting massive margin accounts and doing all of these things that have enabled them to acquire physical. They would never have done it if it weren't important, because it's not worth the hassle or the risk otherwise.
Right. Did you want to bring some more details here to the cup and handle formation for silver, or are we all?
I mean, it's basically the exact same thing here. Silver is, you can see, it's really flirting with that line, where if it breaks through, that's kind of the seminal moment here. If it breaks through that line on a technical analysis standpoint, you can see you'd have to go all the way down to that support, which is at the bottom of the cup. And you can see the support to the left of the bottom of the cup, which mirrors that pretty much. If you drew another line straight across the bottom there, it means it could fall a lot if it breaks from a technical standpoint. I wouldn't rule that out, but I'll tell you, and remember what happened in March last year. Silver fell to $11. You couldn't find a coin for under $20 without waiting 4 weeks to get it. So it's make-believe. And ultimately, it's washing out. It has no basis with reality. And it will be short-lived, just like it was in March when it was the springboard from 11 to 30 in a period of, I don't know, just a few months anyway. So maybe a little bit longer, 6 months. But the point of it is that it's both of them are at that moment where either from a technical standpoint, they take off from the cup and handle or break through it. Silver looks from that chart like it's flirting with breaking through it. And maybe that's what they want. They want to wash as many people out as possible. But I can tell you that premiums will go to the moon and availability will be gone. And it's happened every single time they knock the price down so artificially that all of the people out there, the accumulated wisdom out there, all the people watching, guys like you and Cliff and me and Bix and Chris Marcus and Wall Street Silver and all, they're going to be, oh my God, let's jump on that. And bang, all the product is gone and the mints run out of supply and there's a bottleneck and go the premiums, and that's what's going to happen. So let's hope that it follows that formation and moves higher. But you know what they say, be careful what you wish for.
And at the same time, I wouldn't mind a $10 crash if I can be quick enough to get more silver. Why not?
Well, and if that happens, you need to be on it immediately. Because everyone else will be too, and they will in one day wipe out the inventory of every dealer online.
Right. That's always what happens. Hey, Parisa is asking, JC, are those American Eagle coin deals still available? So, Andy, let me bring that up here before we round out the show for today. Let me bring that up for the audience. This is the weekly special here for the affiliate program.
The one on the far right is gone. We had 70 mint boxes of the Silver Eagle San Francisco, and we sold them real quick. We bought another 50. Those other 50 are due in my warehouse on Monday, but they're already all sold. So we sold 130. I mean, that's a huge part of the whole allocation. I don't know how many they made, but they're gone. But the normal 2021 Type 2 Silver Eagles are available at $725, as are those Philharmonics at $365. You know, and when we talk about premium, let me just mention it this way for all your listeners out there, because premium is a really wacky thing. In November of 2019, had someone bought one of those mint boxes from me, it would have been at $3.19 over the price of silver, which is about on average what it had been my whole career, 30 years. 4 months later in March, I would have paid you $11 over the price of silver to buy them back from you and sold them to you for over 13 or 14. And these spreads that are very high, they're high on the bid side too. But the spread between buy and sell right now may be $2, $2.50 an ounce. That's way higher than it normally is. Why? Why is it that way? Why will a dealer like me sell it at 7 1/4 over, which I will tell you is going to be as good of a price as you'll find anywhere in North America, and then only buy it back for 5 or 5 1/4? Why? Should I make all that money? Let me ask you another way. If I don't know where I'm going to get more silver eagles, if the mint is rationing them, if the distributors, the primary distributors who have them, are selling them to me for more money, what do we do? And I think when you get to a period like this where getting supply is going to become more and more questionable and more challenging, you'll see spreads widen. You'll see spreads go higher, premiums go higher. I think it's only a matter of time before premiums go much higher. And a lot of it is based upon the dealers just don't know where they're going to get more and more product, because it used to be easy and now it's a full-time job.
Okay. Ken Schwartz from C60 Purple Power is on the screen now. He's asking, junk silver is rare now. Premiums are huge if you can find it compared to bullion. So what say you right now on junk silver? Do you guys have any working?
I have some, and it's stupid expensive, $5.95 over the price of silver. Again, it'll be better than most every company out there. However, this is emblematic of a bull market in precious metals. This is emblematic in that, and he's right, is that the saying that there's no bull market like a gold bull market is that no one sells us anything. No one sells us anything. And you're, literally, I mean, we've done virtually nothing in buybacks. And so as a result of that, trying to find silver coins that haven't been made in 55 years, if no one wants to sell it. In fact, people are accumulating it because it offers the best utility. You and I have talked about this before personally. If you have 14 silver dimes, you have 1 ounce of silver almost exactly. And so in terms of utility, you get 14 transactions in an ounce full of silver dimes versus 1 transaction in a 1 ounce silver coin. From a standpoint of the shit hitting the fan or using it from a utility standpoint, it's the best. As a result, no one's selling it. As a result, it's as rare as hen's teeth. I have some bags at $5.95 over, but when I tell you I've done this for 31 years, I've never seen ever a time where you can buy like a maple leaf or a kangaroo or a Britannia for $2 or $3 less than pre-65 silver, which used to be called junk. It's not junk anymore. It was junk because for many years I would buy it at under melt value and sell it for 25 cents over melt value. Right. And in fact, at the very beginning of 2020, before the realization of COVID was what it was, like in December, we were specialing it for like 49 or 59 or 69 cents over, something like that. For months, I was doing that with Dunnigan Kaiser through Liberty and Finance, and we talked about that the other day. That it's crazy that in the span of a year and a half, the premiums on that have gone from virtually non-existent to more than premium coins. And when I tell you I've never seen that before, I've done $6 billion in transactions over 31 years. I've never seen it like this. So I guess that's emblematic of no one selling and why they say there's no bull market like a metals bull market, which appeals to concern rather than greed. But it's also part of the bigger problem where, supply is getting really tight. I used to be able to get you as much of that as you wanted, the drop of a hat. Now it's really hard to find.
Right. Well, there you go, folks. Another reason why this time is different. So check out the silver offerings this week. It's at beyondmystic.net/silver. And of course, the guys at Miles Franklin are going to be responding to you post haste to get that physical silver in your hands. Guys, that was this week's Precious Metals Weekend Review with Andy SCHECTMAN. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and join us tonight. What do we have tonight? What's tonight? Thursday. I have a show tonight. I forget what it was. I've been doing so many shows. Somebody asked me earlier, he says, do you sleep? I'm like, no, I haven't been sleeping for a while here. What's the show tonight? Oh, Penny Kelly. Yes. And we are going to be, yes. How can I forget Penny Kelly? Yes. It's going to be on the screen tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern. We are going to be talking about silver also, and a lot of things in the Break in the Cloud series here. She does these little look-sees outwards to kind of forecast things that are happening in our realm. And part of that is silver. She's been a big fan of silver, let's just say this year, but no more so than in the last couple of look-sees. What she sees for October, November, and perhaps moving into February of next year is absolutely incredible. So again, looking at that cup handle formation, yeah, it could break to the downside here simply because they want to shake some weak hands out of the market, but ultimately, I don't want to say where it's going, but I think you guys know why all of these players are positioning themselves. They know something that we don't.
That's
so, Jerome, yes, we did ask Andy. He's going to be checking in on that, and perhaps for the next show, I'll have an answer for you, and perhaps even a coupon or a discount code for you guys if we can find those amazing tarot cards. All right, Andy, thank you so much for being on the show today, and take care, my friend, and try to get a little bit of sleep. We love you, man.
I'm going to try. It's going to be tough, but I'll try. JC, I appreciate you very much, buddy. You stay well. I'll try to jump in on the live stream tonight with you and Penny. And as always, thanks, buddy.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Au revoir.